The White House and the president were very vocal about Georgia's new election law when it was signed in March of 2021. A big argument from the White House was that it would suppress voting. But there was record turnout in the primary, there was record turnout in the general, record turnout in the runoff, in early voting, absentee ballots, and in-person voting. So is the DOJ going to drop their lawsuit against the state?
I can't speak to DOJ's actions and what they're going to do.
The president, though, called it Jim Crow in the 21st century and a blatant attack on the Constitution. So does he still see it that way?
I'll say this. I'm not going to speak to the Department of Justice legal actions. That's something for them to speak to. What I can say, and not going to get into specifics of your question, but you all reported this, that there was suppression, that we saw that throughout the Georgia election. So that is something that was been reported on. So I leave it to those reports. But look, even with that, the American people came out. They came out in historic fashion to make their voices loud and clear. When it comes to democracy, when it comes to protecting our democracy, when it comes to making sure that we're protecting our economy, we're protecting Social Security and Medicare. This is something that the American people spoke very loud and clear. And they did that because of the success that the president has had on his legislative agenda, because of what the president has been able to deliver, because of what Democrats has been able to do, and making sure we had a sharp message for the American people to see the contrast, right? Republicans wanted to put Social Security and Medicare on the chopping block. That's what they wanted to do. That was their plan. And, you know, people have said, I've heard some of your colleagues say earlier this morning that it was a stunningly bad cycle for Republican senators. And a lot of that is because of their agenda, is because they embodied the ultra MAGA ideas. And even with all of that, the American public came out and they put a lot of that to rest, a lot of what the Republican officials were putting forth, their plan to rest. And they said it very loud and clear. We want the special interests to pay their fair share. We want Social Security. We want Medicare to be protected. And we want women's rights to be protected as well.
One more on Twitter, Corinne. The Twitter files have released that the company typically required an official or law enforcement finding that materials were hacked in order to exercise their company policy to restrict certain stories or reporting. And the journalist who released the material noted that in this case, around the Hunter Biden laptop story, there was no official or law enforcement finding that appeared in the material that he was given. So my question to you is, did anyone from the Biden team communicate to Twitter that this material was from or this reporting stemmed from hacked materials?
Are you talking about the campaign?
It would have been the campaign or anyone around the family. Just wondering because in the Twitter files release and what Matt Taibbi said, he noted that typically the company would require a law enforcement or official finding that something was hacked in order to exercise their hacked materials clause, and that he didn't see that in what had been given to him. So wondering if it was communicated even informally by someone around the president or the president's family or the campaign that this was hacked material or could have come from hacked material, given that there was so much concern, especially after the 2018 foreign interference situation, that could be something that we would see in that election. So I'm wondering if there was that communication there surrounding the Hunter Biden laptop story.
So I can't speak to decisions made by the campaign from here. That is not. It is a political campaign, so I can't speak from here. I'm covered by the Hatch Act, and so I'm just not going to comment on the question that you're asking me. But what I can say more broadly is, of course, it's up to these companies to make their own decision about the content on their platforms and to ensure content follows their own standards and policies. But I'm just not going to comment on a decision that was made during the campaign.